Hi,
Hi,
this is Katie Proctor, the owner of Books with Pictures here in Portland, Oregon.
and this is writer and critic Douglas Volk.
And there are comics this weekend. We're so excited about them.
It's a really big comics
It's
week.
a really big comics week, and the biggest in its way is this House of X, #1, by Jonathan Hickman. Who else is contributing to this?
Pepe Larraz.
Marta Gracia. It's so good.
So, Douglas, you are responsible for my attachment to Jonathan Hickman. I mean, Jonathan Hickman is, of course, responsible for my
Yes,
attachment
yeah.
to Jonathan Hickman. But when I was having some distancing feelings from superhero comics, you dropped a stack of all of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers in a grocery bag in chronological reading order on my porch,
I did do that.
occupying my next several months of time, and really creating a strong attachment to that run of the Avengers. This is not the Avengers. This is Jonathan Hickman jumping in on the X-Men.
And this is Jonathan Hickman starting his gigantic plans for the X-Men. This is going to be alternating bi-weekly with a comic whose title looks like it's Powers of X, but is apparently pronounced Powers of 10. They're each going to run 6 issues over the next 12 weeks, and then he's going to be writing X-Men.
So I don't want to spoil a thing in this.
Not a thing.
Jonathan Hickman, up until yesterday, he gave his last word on the matter yesterday, but he's been on a sort of media blitz, and he's given some what I think are very illuminating, insightful interviews on this. My favorite thing that he said in terms of previewing the themes of House of X is that House of X, of course, sounds like House of M. House of M was an X-Men series that was centered around the elimination and progressive extinction of the X-Men. There are fewer and fewer and fewer mutants in that story, and he says that thematically the X-Men have been in a mode of fewer and fewer and fewer since House of M, and that in coming in to give a new theme, a new set of themes to the X-Men, what he wanted to do was turn House of M and start telling a story that is about growth and expansion and abundance for the X-Men, which is what this story is, and that in this story really concretely takes shape in having Krakoa, the living island, as the central feature of the story, so that we are talking about vines and flowers and the medicinal properties of those flowers and the sort of abundance of a planet-wide tree.
Seeds and growth are very big themes here. This is the freshest approach to X-Men that's happened in a really long time. It's so beautifully thought out. It's so rich. It's something that you can just come in cold for. You don't ever have to have read X-Men before. If you have read a bunch of X-Men before, there's all kinds of amazing little elusive things going on, starting with the cover. Look at the pose that they're standing in. Look at the background that is around them. They are emerging from it exactly as they did on the cover of Giant Size X-Men #1, in the pose they were in on the cover of the first Grant Morrison issue of New X-Men.
It's all coming together. This issue is amazing, and you should read it.
Yes.
And while we're talking about X-Men,
If you are interested in investigating the X-Men's history, we have one copy of a special thing at the store this week.
so you probably know from previous conversations that Douglas curates a handful of drawers for us here at Books with Pictures. He puts in them an issue or a run of issues of older comics for $3 a piece. They are, in general, we say, not high value, just high interest, and he puts Post-it notes on the front of them to tell you why they're cool. But he put together a brick.
Yes. It is a 50-issue brick, the complete run of Classic X-Men. Classic X-Men was a 1986 series that reprinted the early part of the classic mid-70s to 1990 Chris Claremont run on the X-Men, with an extra story in every issue and extra story pages inserted into the original story in most early issues. We've got a stack of 50 of them. The first 46 issues of this series, plus some bonuses that really go with it, as you will see. We have one copy of this stack. It's 50 comics for $150. Got to be the first one in the door for it.
Oh, it's so good.
So good. Also out this week that we're excited about, Star Pig.
So I want to say, Marvel is having a heck of a week. We could stand up here and just talk about Marvel books.
We could.
But I feel like if we did, we wouldn't get the chance to tell you about Star Pig. Star Pig is a very kid-friendly comic. It's written by Delilah Dawson. It's drawn by Francesco Gaston. It is colored by Sebastian Chang and lettered by Sean Lee. It is about a 21st century teenager on her way to space camp at Fedowski Station, and her transport is destroyed, and she is rescued by a giant space tardigrade. And her adventures begin. It is super endearing. It is full of 21st century kid slang and fashion, and has really wacky aliens, and is just full of heart and space.
And charm and tardigrades and awful collectors.
It's so clever. And yeah, if you like teen girls, are a teen girl, have teen girls around you, this is especially for you.
Also, if you are a tardigrade.
Or like tardigrades, or have a tardigrade friend. Space Pig.
And you also wanted to shout out one other comic that came out this week. That's a Marvel thing. Fearless.
Fearless is a new anthology series. It is a woman-centric anthology series. It's got a lot of A-Force vibes. If you, like me, are still grieving the cancellation of A-Force, this is definitely a book you should pick up. This issue features 3 short stories. Those short stories have Storm and Captain Marvel and
Millie the Model.
I was getting there.
Millie the Model.
Storm and Captain Marvel and the Invisible Woman and Jessica Jones and Eliza Bloodstone and also Millie the Model. And it's not a, oh hey, Millie the Model dropped into a superhero story, which I feel like we've had before. It is a straight up Millie the Model
Goes
on
modeling.
a fashion shoot doing some modeling, which is a professional job that people do, and it's hard, modeling story. It's a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah, massive, amazing creative team on this. I'm not going to read them all out because there's so many people. Fearless, it's a first of a 4-issue mini-series anthology. The stories are going to continue from issue to issue, so definitely to be continued. It is so light and so gentle and so much fun, and yeah, I'm super excited about it. I also want to point out before we say goodbye that we are also both visually repping other comics that that are notable today. Jane Foster Valkyrie had its first issue. If you love Jane Foster Thor and you just do not want Jane Foster to go out of your Marvel life, definitely pick up the incredibly witty, clever, charming Jane Foster Valkyrie.
And The Wicked and the Divine, which wraps up its story this issue. There's one more issue of epilogue to go, but today is the conclusion in its way of The Wicked and the Divine. My favorite ongoing monthly serial comic right now.
So, WicDiv 44 out today, Jane Foster Valkyrie out today, Space Pig, Fearless, and House of X.
Come get some comics.
Woo!
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.